Sometimes when you need to create text documents, such as simple notes, you don't need the full power of a word processing application like Microsoft Word, for example. There are a couple of accessories you may already be familiar with from previous versions of Windows still available to you here in Windows 8. We're going to take a look at them now. By default, looking at your start screen, you won't find any tiles for accessing text document creation type accessories. So we need to right-click in the background, go down to the bottom right corner on the app bar and click All Apps. From here, again, looking at the additional apps available to us, the Windows 8 apps, there's nothing here for creating text documents. We need to go to the old Windows accessories over here on the right-hand side, and we're going to start with one called Notepad. Give that a click and it opens up a new blank document. It's untitled and it's sitting there waiting for you to start typing in text. This is the old Notepad you're accustomed to in previous versions of Windows. So for example, if we had a to-do list, we could type that in. You might see a different default font size and style than me, but that's all something we can change. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's put in some items on our to-do list. For example, finish budget spreadsheet. How about update training calendar? Notify customers of new update. You can add whatever you like just to have a few items in here. And now we're going to format this and take a look what Notepad has to offer. I'm going to click and drag from the end all the way up to the top so everything's selected and click Format. Now from here, there's not a whole lot on the Format menu. We have Word Wrap for wrapping words around the default margins that are set for us here in Notepad. We'll take a look at it momentarily. But the only other option for changing the appearance of our text is font. And this allows us to do a few things. We can change the font family. So for example, if we want to go down to Calibri and maybe under font style, change it from regular to something else, like for example, bold or light. We can also change the size. I'm going to bump this up to 16 and I'm going to click OK. So everything that was highlighted or selected has been changed. You can click to deselect. Let's go up here to To-Do List, select it and go back to Format, down to Font, and we'll make that stand out. We'll make it bold and maybe change the size to 20 and click OK. You can see what happens. Even though we had the title selected, everything is updated. This is just really for simple note-taking where you don't need to do a lot of formatting. Let's go to the File menu for a second, click File, and go down to Page Setup to look at the default settings. You can see it's a letter. You can also see the orientation is portrait. And then we have margins. Mine are at 3/4 of an inch on the left and right. And the top and bottom I changed in a previous document, so they're showing up here in my new document as well. You probably see 1 inch if it's your first time. I'm going to change that back to 1 inch on the top. Click and drag over the bottom figure and type 1 in there. And you'll also notice some header codes and footer codes that are going to be used for showing page numbering, etc. So we'll click OK. So those are our settings. Anything that we change needs to be saved. And again, from the File menu, notice we don't have a ribbon. We don't have any buttons. We have to go to the menu bar. And from here, we can go to Save or Save As. And because it's our first time, using Control S or selecting Save would be the same as choosing Save As. The Save As window opens up, and we can choose where we're going to save it. Let's choose the desktop. You'll notice that the file name needs to be entered, and the extension is going to be TXT, a text document. So let's just type in to do. We'll leave the type as text document, but click the drop down. You can see that's our only option. So we'll click Save. Now our document's been saved and it will show up on the desktop. If you need to do a little bit more, you need more power. You don't need a full word processing application, but you want to be able to do some more formatting. You might consider another accessory, which is the WordPad. So this time we'll hit our Windows key on the keyboard to go back to the start screen. We'll right-click in the background anywhere, click All Apps from the app bar, and look for WordPad. This is a beefed up notepad, and in fact it almost looks like a word processing application. Notice at the top we have a quick access toolbar with Save, Undo, and Redo. You can also add buttons like I did, the Open button, by clicking the drop-down and selecting items that are not checked to add them. Maybe, for example, Print Preview would be a good one to have up there. Also, we have just below that tabs for our ribbon and including a file tab here. And when we click file, you'll notice new, open, and saving. Go down to save as though and just take a look at some of the additional formats you can save to, including XML documents, RTF or rich text. There's our plain TXT document type. But you do have more options to the format you're going to save to. We also have some printing options. There's page setup right from the file tab where we can look at the defaults for this. Again, the size is letter, portrait. You're going to see left and right margins defaulted to 1.25, 1 at the top and the bottom, and you can see print page numbers is selected. We don't actually see the codes for page headers or footers. We just see a checkbox. So let's leave it as is by clicking cancel, and again we would start typing. But look at the home tab here. We have a number of options for changing our font right from here. We can change the font type. Let's go back to Arial, for example, and bump it up to 12. We could also change the appearance, bold, italic, underline. We can change font color. We can change font alignment, which is defaulted to left. If we go to center, for example, and type in title and press enter a couple of times, everything we type will be centered unless we go back to left aligned. Okay. We can insert things like pictures. So if you have images that you want to insert, or maybe images you want to draw using the Paint program. We're going to be looking at Paint momentarily in this chapter, so we'll leave that for later. But you can actually insert drawings right into your document here. There is a keyboard shortcut, Control D. You want the date and time in there? Give it a click. Choose your format and click OK. Inserts the date for you. We'll hit enter a couple of times. Notice also you have some additional functionality for inserting objects using find and replace and some other editing options like selecting. Under view, we can also change some of the view options like our zoom level. Let's zoom out, for example, to see more of the page and the layout, or go right back to 100% by clicking it. What's showing up on your screen? The ruler across the top. Don't like it, turn it off. Same thing for the status bar across the bottom, where you can also change the zoom level if you want to zoom in or out by clicking and dragging the slider. You also have the measurement units, which are defaulted to inches, but if you're in a metric society, you might choose centimeters, or working with graphics, you might choose points, for example. Just leave it at inches. So again, this is something we would want to save. There is a save button right on the quick access toolbar. We could choose where we're going to save it to. Let's go to the desktop. Notice the Save As Type default is not TXT like Notepad, but RTF, rich text, which means we have more formatting capabilities for our characters. Click the drop down though if you want to choose from one of those other options we saw earlier. I'm going to leave it at RTF. I'm going to click here and type in proposal. When I click Save, it's been saved now to the location of my choosing. I can continue working on this document. Of course, when we're done, we can click the Close button in the top right corner. We'll do the same for Notepad and press our Windows key to return to the Start screen. That's a couple of accessories that allow us to create text documents here in Windows 8, still available to you from previous versions of Microsoft Windows.